Hello folks, welcome to the channel. My name is Carlos and today we're going to be looking at the Mido Ocean Star Tribute GMT, also known as the Shark Tooth. Let's find out if this shark really has a bite. So this is the new for 2024 Mido Ocean Star Tribute GMT Shark Tooth. This is a special edition watch that is meant to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the release of the Ocean Star brand. One of the things that's really cool about this particular watch is not only its GMT movement, its 200 meters of water resistance, but it's really cool vintage inspired looks, which in my opinion might make this one of the most attractive watches of 2024. Before we get any further into this review, I do want to let you know that this watch was sent to me by Mido for review. However, I do not get to keep this particular watch. It will be going back to Mido as soon as the review is over. That means that Mido has absolutely no say in the making of this review, and what you will be hearing is 100% my honest opinion. So if you haven't heard about the brand Mido before, I have to say that Mido is definitely one of my favorite watch brands. It is a watch brand that is under the Swatch umbrella, along with other brands such as Tissot, Hamilton, Longines, Omega, and a bunch of other even more expensive and well-known brands. In my opinion, Mido is where you're going to find the highest level of watchmaking, of finishing, and also of calibers, and still be at that entry-level, affordable luxury entry point. All right, so with all of that said, let's get into the fit and finish of this watch. The Ocean Star Tribute line is one that I personally find to be absolutely beautiful, starting with the beautiful brushing that you will see all across the case, focusing mostly on the sides and on the top of the lugs. But in Mido tradition, we still have all of the edges of the case very nicely beveled and polished to give us just really nice light interaction and add just the right amount of bling to remind us that even though this is a sports watch, this is a very elegant and very classy sports watch. From the case, we move over to the bezel. The bezel is a very nice 72 click multi-directional bezel. This means that the bezel can actually be rotated in both directions versus just one direction. And we'll find that the aluminum bezel insert has 24-hour markings to help us track a third time zone when using that GMT feature. The last thing that we will notice about the bezel is that it's pretty much all polished to give us a very nice and elegant finish, with some really nice fluting on the edges to add a pretty decent amount of grip for the bezel to be able to easily operate it. One of the details that I really like about the bezel is how Mido chose to use an aluminum insert instead of a ceramic one, really sort of keeping the entire feel of the watch true to that 60s and 70s vibes of the divers of the time. One of the stars of this particular watch, in my opinion, is the multicolored dial, which is just absolutely beautiful, starting with its deep, smoky, almost black center main area of the dial, along with its overlaid triangle markers, which is where the watch gets its nickname, the Shark Tooth, along with this really beautiful silver aluminum outside track that has another set of 24-hour markings to really help with the readability of the GMT hand whenever you've set the bezel to track a third time zone. As usual, we have the very nice Mido branding right underneath the 12 o'clock marker, and right above the 6 o'clock marker, we'll see the Ocean Star branding along with the words GMT in a very nice red color that match the GMT hand. The hands on the dial of the Ocean Star Tribute are relatively simple for what we usually see in the more modern Ocean Star line, but you will still find very beautiful hour, minute, and second hands, along with a very nice dark red GMT hand. All of the hands very nicely loomed except for the second hand, that just make the overall readability of the watch pretty superb. This particular dial variant does offer a date at the 3 o'clock that does away with the 3 o'clock overlaid marking. In my opinion, it all looks very nice, but this might be one of the details in which some people that are not big fan of dates might maybe take issue with. One of my absolutely favorite parts of this dial and watch is the crystal that finishes off the whole thing, which is a double dome top hat sapphire crystal that just gives this watch that beautiful sort of old school acrylic sort of feel to it, but giving you the more modern sapphire material, which is going to be more scratch resistant and it's just going to last you much longer. One of my favorite things of this crystal is that at the edges, you're going to get a ton of distortion, which I am a big fan of. I love crystals that add just a little bit of distortion to the dial. I think that those always look absolutely fantastic, and this watch definitely brings that to the table. The case back of the shark tooth is a very nice engraved case back with the traditional branding that you will see on most of the Ocean Star divers. As we move away from the case and into the bracelet, one of the things that I like to mention is that the special edition watch actually comes with 2 bracelets. Unfortunately, the sample unit that I got only had the metal brace, but this does come with a very nice NATO nylon strap. But with that said, I did receive it with the Shark Link bracelet, and I have to admit that this bracelet is phenomenal, starting with the end links, which are simple and brushed, but really fit super nicely into the mesh of the bracelet itself, with individual slots for each of the tilt very nicely milled into it, and just giving you a really nice integration between the actual end link and the mesh bracelet itself. One of the beautiful things about having a mesh bracelet is that the links are super small, which means that the bracelet is gonna be super flexible, super comfortable. In my experience, it did not pull any hairs, and because the links are so small, even without using any micro adjustment, you are very likely to get a perfect fit, just because the links are so small that they're just gonna give you tons of fitment options. The clasp is pretty much the standard Mido Ocean Star clasp, but to be fair, this clasp, in my opinion, at the price range, does set the standard for what a clasp should be. It is beautifully finished with brushing and the Mido logo at the very top. It has very nice bevels that have been polished, and really my favorite part of the Ocean Star clasps is their diverse extension features, which allow you to adjust the length of the watch, either make the bracelet longer or shorter without actually taking the watch off. The clasp, as one would expect, is completely milled, super solid, and just a wonderful clasp with a wonderful ratcheting diverse extension mechanism. So let's get into the nerdy side of the review, which is the accuracy. As you guys know, I test these watches across 6 positions on the time grapher, and while the time grapher is not going to tell you the full story of how well a watch is going to wear, it does give us a good idea of the quality and overall performance that one could expect from the watches. So with that said, this watch was pretty impressive across 6 positions, with the slowest position being +4 seconds and the fastest position being +8 seconds. This means that across all positions, the max deviation in accuracy was only 4 seconds, which is pretty phenomenal. Altogether, across 6 positions, the average timekeeping for this watch was plus 5.8 seconds a day, which overall for this type of watch is pretty good. It's on brand, being that the overall deviation of this watch was only 4 seconds across all positions. It'd be awesome if we had that Erachron regulator, which unfortunately we don't have, to be able to squeeze a little bit more accuracy out of this movement, because it's a very accurate movement, but it could use, I think, a little bit of regulation to just make it an absolutely killer movement. So now that we talked accuracy, let's go ahead and get into the hard part of the review, and that's always talking money. The MSRP for this particular watch is $1,300, and believe it or not, $1,300 for a Swiss true GMT is still one hell of a deal. There's really not anybody else in the Swiss market that is making true travel GMTs at this price range. You are still looking to go to much more expensive brands such as Longines and maybe Tudor, where you're going to be paying $1,000 to $2,000 more, if not even more than that, for this type of complication. With that said, as I'm recording this video right now, Teddy Baldassar has the exclusivity on this watch until the end of May. If you are interested in picking up one of these watches and you can't find it anywhere else, go ahead and hit up Teddy, as he will be able to hook you up. All right, so let's wrap up the review with likes and dislikes. I personally love this watch. This is a super classy watch. I feel like the 40mm case size is definitely a like. It is something where it is the perfect size. It just looks absolutely classy. I have a 7.5-inch wrist, and I feel like this size is perfect, and I think that people with smaller wrists are also going to really enjoy it. And really what makes the case size perfect, even for folks like me that usually wear larger watches, is that vintage look. That vintage look on this particular case size just looks phenomenal. Another thing that I really love is that sapphire crystal. It looks absolutely phenomenal. I do have one of the older Ocean Star GMTs that have a timing bezel instead of the 24-hour GMT bezel, and I have to admit that I actually really like the 24-hour GMT bezel on this one as well. After working with my other GMT watch for many years, I find that the 24-hour bezel is just improves readability of that GMT hand so much that I kind of think that this is really the way to go. So I'm a big fan of the fact that they use the GMT bezel instead of the timing bezel for practicality. As far as dislikes, there's really only two things that I think they're not really massive dislikes. They're not deal breakers by any means, but they are things that I think folks should be aware of. The first is that the action on the brand new watch was relatively tough. Not unworkable, but just be aware that the bezel might be a little bit on the tough side. The other thing that I think is a little hard to mention because I love it, but it's also slightly impractical, is the distortion on the sapphire crystal does distort the 24-hour markers on the silver track on the dial, which means that it's going to be a little bit harder to use that inside track, and you're probably going to be relying mostly on the numbers on the bezel to read the GMT hand. However, I would not change that crystal for anything. That crystal is just absolutely phenomenal. And the last thing that I would warn people about is that the shark mesh bracelet is absolutely phenomenal, but you might want to have a professional size your bracelet, because I don't know if it's the fact that there's so many links involved that punching out the pins can be a little bit tricky, so you want to be very careful with that. And also, every single one of those links is independent, which means that you're gonna have to be very patient to take your time to align all of those guys in order to be able to put the pins back into it. So either have a professional do it, or definitely know that because it is a more complex bracelet that is made up of many more parts, that you're gonna have to be very patient and very careful when sizing the bracelet. With that said, the shark mesh bracelet is absolutely phenomenal, and in my opinion, it's the bracelet that would spend the most time on this watch, bar none. All right, folks, well, that's pretty much it for this review. Let me know what you guys think about the Mido Ocean Star Tribute Shark Tooth. I think that this is still probably one of the best deals for a true GMT on the Swiss market, mostly because right now there's absolutely no true GMT Swiss movements available to micro brands. So that means that while you might be able to find some true GMT watches that are gonna be slightly cheaper, you are gonna have to go for Japanese movements, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're a watch collector and you're looking to stay with that Swiss heritage, then I feel like Mido and the Swatch brand with these true GMT movements pretty much still have like a huge advantage that is just a great deal in today's market. So let me know, what do you guys think of the Ocean Star GMT? Is there another Swiss true GMT that maybe like you prefer, that's some similar price range that maybe I don't know about? Please be sure to let me know in the comments. To be completely honest, I love interacting with you guys in the comments. I feel like I learn much more from you guys than what you guys probably pick up from these videos, and I really do take the time to answer each one of you back, because I said I really just enjoy talking and getting to know you guys. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. We finally hit the 1,000 sub mark to be able to monetize the channel, so that was all thanks to you guys. Thank you very much for watching the video and supporting what I do, and I definitely hope to see you guys on the next video. So until then, see you later. Bye.